You have to master horizon scanning if you want to build a future-ready strategy. But most leaders get stuck on the mechanics of how to actually do it. So in this video, I'll show you exactly how to do horizon scanning using a simple 7-step process. We'll cut through the theory so you can spot change early and make confident decisions starting today. If you want a simple way to start building this habit right now, I've linked my free email course below. It sends you one bite-sized scanning exercise every couple of days to get you up and running. For those of you who are serious about building a future-ready organization and want the complete system with all my templates and tools, you can join the waitlist for my full horizon scanning course at any time using the link in the description and in the comments below. Now let's get started with step 1. Horizon scanning is a structured process that helps you spot change before your competitors do, so you can make strategic decisions with confidence, not with panic. Think of it like sitting in the control tower of a busy airport. You're monitoring multiple radars and signals, spotting potential turbulence and shifts long before anyone else sees them. Horizon scanning works the same way. You track weak signals and emerging patterns that could disrupt your industry, giving you time to act proactively rather than reactively. But make no mistake, this isn't about having a crystal ball. Horizon scanning isn't predicting the future or guessing outcomes. It's a systematic way to monitor, filter, and interpret the signals so you can anticipate disruptions and adjust your strategy accordingly. In your control tower, you have 2 ways to watch the skies: a wide-angle radar and a targeted tracking system. Open scanning is like the wide-angle radar. You're scanning the entire airspace, looking for early signals, even those that seem small or far away. This might include emerging technologies, shifts in customer behavior, or social trends that aren't yet on anyone else's radar. Closed scanning is your targeted tracking system. You focus on specific flight paths that matter most: regulatory changes, competitor moves, or technological developments in your sector. The best leaders combine both. The wide radar uncovers surprises, while the targeted system ensures nothing critical slips past. Here's the difference that separates great leaders from everyone else. Great leaders don't wait for turbulence to hit their planes. They monitor the skies, anticipate storms, and adjust flight plans in advance. Horizon scanning gives you that capability. It transforms reactive planning into proactive strategy. By watching signals from multiple directions, you can detect opportunities early, avoid risks, and make informed decisions with confidence. Because this isn't guesswork. It's like having a control tower full of instruments guiding your strategic decisions. And here's where it gets really powerful. When you take those insights and translate them into practical strategies, you're preparing your organization for multiple possible futures instead of being caught off guard. In short, horizon scanning turns uncertainty into clarity and helps you shape the future rather than letting it shape you. Alright, let's get practical now. Here are 7 steps you can take right now to start horizon scanning in your organization. Here's where most horizon scanning initiatives fail before they even begin. People jump straight into collecting information without knowing why they're doing it. They start scanning because it sounds smart, because a consultant told them, or because their competitor is doing it. And 6 months later, they have folders full of trends and absolutely no idea what to do with them. Don't make that mistake. Before you do anything else, ask yourself, what do you want to achieve with horizon scanning? And I mean really achieve, not vague aspirations like stay informed or be innovative. Those aren't goals, those are wishes. Let me give you some real, actionable goals that actually drive decisions. Are you looking for new opportunities? Maybe your core business is maturing and you need to identify adjacencies or entirely new markets to enter. In this case, your scanning should focus on emerging customer needs, underserved markets, technological breakthroughs that enable new products, or business model innovations that are working in other sectors. Or are you tracking industry developments? Perhaps you're in a fast-moving sector where staying current isn't optional, it's survival. Think fintech, healthcare, energy. Your goal here is competitive intelligence and positioning. You're scanning to make sure you're not blindsided by a competitor's move, a new regulation, or a technological shift that makes your offering obsolete. Your question is, what do we need to keep up with? Or are you anticipating potential risks? Maybe you've been burnt before by unexpected disruption, or you operate in a high-stakes environment where surprises are expensive. Your scanning should focus on threats to your business model, regulatory changes that could impact operations, supply chain vulnerabilities, or social shifts that could damage your brand. Your question is, what could hurt us? Or maybe you're trying to inform long-term strategy. Perhaps you're in the middle of strategic planning and need to understand what the landscape will look like in 3 to 5 years. You're not looking for immediate actions. You're building scenarios and stress testing your strategy against different possible futures. Your question then is, what world are we building for? And maybe you're trying to build organizational foresight capabilities. Maybe the real goal isn't about specific insights at all. It's about creating a culture where people think about the future systematically. You want your teams to develop the muscle of looking ahead, questioning assumptions, and staying curious. Your question is, how do we make future thinking a habit? Here's the thing, you might have multiple goals, and that's absolutely okay, but you need to be explicit about them. You need to prioritize, because different goals require different approaches. If you're hunting for opportunities, you'll scan more broadly and creatively, looking at adjacent industries, emerging technologies, and changing consumer behaviors. If you're tracking competitive threats, you'll scan more narrowly and tactically, monitoring specific competitors, regulatory bodies, and technological developments in your sector. If you're building organizational capability, you'll care less about finding the perfect insights and more about the process of engagement and learning. Here's a mistake I see all the time. Organizations decide to start horizon scanning and they try to scan everything, every industry, every technology, every geopolitical shift, every social trend. And you know what happens? They get overwhelmed, burn out their team, and quit after 3 months. This is about setting boundaries in a good way. Think of it like this. If you're trying to watch the entire horizon at once, you'll see nothing clearly. But if you focus your binoculars on the right areas, you'll spot the signals that actually matter. So let's break down how to frame your scanning exercise properly. First, define your scope. Start by asking which industries, regions, or trends are most relevant to you. For industries, are you only watching your own sector, or do you need to monitor adjacent industries that could converge with yours? For example, if you're in automotive, you're probably watching not just car manufacturers, but also battery technology, AI, urban planning, and even insurance. Think about where disruption could come from, not just where it's happening in your industry. For regions, where do trends typically emerge that affect your business? Silicon Valley for tech, Shenzhen for manufacturing, Berlin for social innovation. Maybe you operate globally, but find that regulatory changes in the EU end up setting standards everywhere else. Be strategic about where you focus geographically. For trends, what types of developments actually move the needle for you? Technological shifts, regulatory changes, consumer behavior, workforce dynamics, climate and environmental factors. You can't watch all of these equally. Prioritize the ones that have historically impacted your business or are likely to in the future. Here's a practical exercise. Draw 3 concentric circles. The inner circle is your core focus, trends that directly impact your current business model. The middle circle is your peripheral vision, adjacent areas that could become relevant. And the outer circle is your distant horizon, wildcards and long-term shifts you want to keep an eye on but not obsess over. Allocate your scanning effort accordingly, maybe 50% core, 30% peripheral, 20% distant. Define the boundaries of your horizon scanning efforts. This may include geographical boundaries, specific industries or sectors, or certain types of trends or developments. Be explicit about what you're including and what you're deliberately leaving out. Because it's okay to say, we're not watching South American markets right now, or we're deprioritizing fashion trends. Boundaries create clarity. By framing the horizon scanning process in this way, you ensure that your efforts are focused and aligned with your business goals and objectives. You're not scanning for the sake of scanning. You're scanning to support specific strategic decisions. This will help you identify trends and anticipate future developments more effectively and make informed decisions about the direction of your business. One final thought on framing. Your frame isn't permanent. Review and adjust your scope every 6 to 12 months. As your strategy evolves, so should your scanning focus. Maybe you enter a new market and need to add new regions. Maybe a technology becomes critical and you need deeper expertise. Your frame should be deliberate, but not rigid. Horizon scanning isn't a solo sport. Different people see different things. Your frontline employees spot operational shifts. Your customers reveal demand changes. Your technical team catches emerging technologies. Your finance team notices market movements. You need all these perspectives. So ask yourself, who should contribute insights? For internal teams, think broadly here. Obviously senior leadership, strategy teams, and innovation groups. But don't forget your salespeople who talk to customers every day. Your customer service reps who hear complaints before anyone else. Your product developers who track technical feasibility. And even your newest hires who might have fresh eyes on industry assumptions that everyone else is taking for granted. Think external voices. Consider business owners in adjacent sectors, industry advisors who have cross-sector perspectives, academic researchers working on relevant problems, consultants who see patterns across multiple clients, and yes, your customer themselves. They're living in the future you're trying to scan for. Think about external partners. Who's in your ecosystem? Suppliers, distributors, technology partners, even friendly competitors you collaborate with. They're all seeing signals you might miss. Here's what most people get wrong. They think of stakeholders as people who need to approve the scanning work. That's wrong. Think of them as people who have unique vantage points on the horizon. Each stakeholder sees a different slice of the future. Determine how to involve them. Now, here's the key question. How do you actually get these stakeholders engaged without turning this into a bureaucratic nightmare? You have 3 levels of involvement, and you need to be strategic about who goes where. Level 1, in the scanning exercise itself. These are your core scanners. They're actively gathering signals, submitting trends, and contributing to the ongoing process. This should be a relatively small group, maybe 5 to 15 people, depending on your organization size. These are people who have the time, interest, and capability to scan regularly. Maybe they spend 30 minutes a week reading, flagging signals, and adding to your database. Level 2, in the subsequent strategy process. These stakeholders don't scan regularly, but they participate when you analyze and interpret the signals. You bring them in quarterly or whenever you're making sense of what you've found. They help answer questions like, what does this mean for us? And how should we respond? This might be your leadership team, department heads, or domain experts you consult on specific topics. Level 3, in the end result. These people receive the outputs, the scans, the insights, the strategic recommendations. They're informed, but not actively involved in the creation process. This might be your broader organization, your board, or external partners who benefit from knowing what you're seeing. Here's a pro move. Create a simple matrix. List your stakeholders down the left side. Create 3 columns for the 3 levels. Check the appropriate box for each person. This clarity prevents confusion and ensures everyone knows their role. And here's something crucial. Make it easy for people to contribute. If you expect your sales team to submit formal reports, it won't happen. But if you create a simple Slack channel where anyone can drop a link with a 1-line comment, that works. If you send a monthly 5-minute survey asking, what surprised you this month? That works. Meet people where they are. The bottom line is, a well-framed scanning exercise is focused, inclusive, and practical. It brings together the right people, watching the right areas in ways that actually fit into how your organization works. Get this right, and everything else becomes easier. Here's something most people get wrong. Weak signals almost always show up on the fringes first, long before they appear in mainstream reports or industry analysis. That means you can't only rely on traditional sources. You need to look deliberately where most people aren't looking. Talk to unconventional thinkers, listen to early adopters, explore fringe communities, emerging startups, and niche research groups. Very often the ideas that seem too early, too weird, or not relevant yet are exactly where tomorrow's changes begin. But balance is key. While scanning the horizon for new signals, you also want a strong base of reliable information. That means gathering inputs from multiple sources. Look at industry publications and newsletters. Stay up to date with news media and press releases. And explore academic research, think tank reports, and white papers. Also, don't forget the insights you can get directly from your customers through surveys, feedback, and frontline conversations. Social media trends and online communities can reveal emerging patterns, and attending conferences, webinars, expert panels, and engaging with professional networks will help you stay connected to what's happening in your field. By combining these diverse sources, you create a rich, balanced picture of the future. And yes, social media is incredibly valuable for catching fast-moving signals, but only if you use it consciously. Because here's the trap. Algorithms are designed to serve you more of what you already believe. If you're not careful, your scan becomes an echo chamber. So deliberately follow people outside your field, outside your worldview, and outside your comfort zone. That's where the new information lives. If you're finding these steps valuable and you want to immediately put them into practice, remember you can sign up for my free email course linked in the description below. It's a great way to get hands-on experience with horizon scanning. Okay, you've gathered a mountain of data. Now comes the hard part, figuring out what actually matters. Because here's the thing, not every signal deserves your attention. Some are just noise, some are false alarms, and some are the early warning signs of massive change. Your job is to tell the difference. When you're analyzing signals from your horizon scan, you're looking for three things: patterns, potential disruptions, and emerging opportunities. Patterns tells you a trend is real, not just a one-off. Disruptions signal that the rules of the game might be changing. And opportunities? Those are the gaps where you can move first and win big. So how do you actually do this? Start by applying a filter, a set of critical questions for each signal you've collected. First, assess credibility. How credible is the source? Is this coming from a respected research institution? Or is it a random blog post with no evidence? Did you find the signal in multiple places, or is it a single anecdote? Credibility doesn't mean mainstream. Remember, the best signals often come from the fringes. But it does mean you need some basis for taking it seriously. Second, test for novelty. Is this trend truly new or just a minor variation? Is this actually a shift in consumer behavior, or is it just the same thing with a new name? Sometimes what looks like innovation is just repackaging. Be honest with yourself here. Third, evaluate likelihood and impact. How likely is it to become mainstream? And what would the impact be if it does? This is your classic risk assessment. A low probability, low impact signal? Probably not worth much attention. A low probability but high impact signal? That's worth monitoring closely. These are your black swans. And a high probability, high impact signal? That's where you need to act now. Here's a useful framework. Plot each signal on a simple 2x2 matrix. Likelihood on one axis, impact on the other. This gives you a visual snapshot of where to focus your energy. Fourth, check for relevance. Is this relevant to your organization or sector? Just because something is interesting doesn't mean it matters to you. A breakthrough in quantum computing might be fascinating, but if you're running a local restaurant chain, it's probably not going to change your strategy anytime soon. Stay focused on what could actually affect your business. Fifth, gauge velocity. How quickly might this become widely noticed? And how much lead time do you have to respond? Some trends move slowly. demographic shifts, for example, you might have years to prepare. Other trends move at lightning speed. Think about how quickly AI tools went from niche to mainstream in 2023. Understanding velocity helps you prioritize. The faster something is moving, the more urgent your response needs to be. Then go deeper. Once you've filtered your signals, it's time to really dig in. For every trend that passes your initial assessment, ask these strategic questions. Why does this matter? Not just what is it, but why should we care? What fundamental assumption does this challenge? What customer need does it address? What market dynamic does it shift? What could we do if it happens? Start thinking about response options. Could we pivot a product line? Should we form strategic partnerships? Do we need to develop new capabilities? Brainstorm multiple scenarios. Don't lock yourself into one response too early. What could we do now to prepare? Even if you're not ready to make big moves, what small steps could hedge your bets? Maybe it's hiring someone with specific expertise, running a pilot project, or just setting up better monitoring systems. And the ultimate question is, are we ready to act? This is the gut check question. Do we have the resources, the organizational will, the capabilities? If the answer is no, what would it take for us to get ready? Sometimes the most important insight isn't about the trend itself. It's realizing you're not prepared to respond to any major change. Here's what this process actually looks like in practice. Let's say you've spotted a signal that Gen Z consumers are increasingly avoiding brands with traditional advertising. You assess it. Multiple credible sources, so high credibility. It's a genuine behavioral shift not seen in previous generations, so there's true novelty. It's already happening in some sectors, so medium-high likelihood. And if it spreads to your industry, it could tank your marketing ROI, so the impact is high. It's highly relevant to your business and it's accelerating fast, so high velocity. Now you go deeper. Why does it matter? Because your entire growth strategy is built on paid advertising. What could you do? Shift to influencer partnerships, invest in community building, create authentic content. But what can you do now? You can test these approaches in a small market. Are you ready to act? Not fully. Your marketing team doesn't have these skills yet. So the action is start training or hiring. Did you see how that works? This approach turns raw signals into actionable insights and helps you focus on what really matters for your strategy. You move from interesting observation to strategic intelligence to concrete action plan. One last thing on this matter. Don't analyze signals in isolation. Look for convergence. When multiple signals point in the same direction, that's when you pay attention. That's when weak signals become strong trends. But also look for contradictions. When signals conflict with each other, that often reveals uncertainty and opportunity. Because the future is rarely straightforward, and the most valuable insights often come from sitting with the tension between competing signals. Alright, so you've gathered all these signals. Now what? This is where most organizations drop the ball. They collect information, but it just sits there in documents nobody reads. You need to create structured scans, organized summaries that actually get used. And here's how to do it right. When reviewing trends or signals, summarize each one clearly and consistently. Start by describing what it is. Give it a clear, memorable name and a brief description. Then explain how it relates to your strategy. Does it threaten your business model? Open up a new market? Change customer expectations? Next, answer the so what question. Explain why it's important. What's at stake if you ignore this? What's the opportunity if you act? And critically, consider what actions it might require. Should you invest in new capabilities? Partner with someone? Adjust your product roadmap? Exit a market? Think of each scan as a one-page intelligence brief. It should tell the story of a trend in a way that anyone in your organization can understand and act on. Include the trend name, a description, the source of the signal, the potential impact, the timeline, and recommended actions. By capturing these key points in a consistent format, you turn scattered insights into clear, actionable intelligence that can guide your decision-making and help your organization respond effectively to emerging changes. And here's a pro tip. Create a central repository, a database, a shared space where all these scans live. Make it searchable, make it accessible, because the real power comes when your team can revisit these scans, connect the dots between different signals, and see patterns emerge over time. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Horizon scanning is only useful if it informs decision. I've seen too many organizations spend months scanning the horizon, creating beautiful reports, and then nothing changes. The insights sit in a presentation somewhere while the organization continues business as usual. Don't let that be you. The whole point of this exercise is to bridge the gap between insight and action. Use what you've learned to adjust strategies, plan investments, train your workforce, or explore new opportunities. Let me give you some concrete examples. Maybe your scan reveals that customers are increasingly concerned about sustainability. Your action? Adjust your product development roadmap and supply chain practices. Maybe you spot an emerging technology that could disrupt your industry. Your potential action? Invest in R&D or acquire the startup before your competitor does. Maybe demographic shifts suggest your target market is changing. A potential action? Retrain your sales team and redesign your marketing strategy. Here's what separates good scanning from great scanning. Build a feedback loop. After you take action based on a scan, track what happens. Did the trend play out as expected? Was your response effective? What did you learn? Feed that knowledge back into your next scanning cycle. And don't forget to monitor and review regularly. And I mean regularly. The world changes fast, and your scanning process should keep up. Set a rhythm. Maybe it's monthly reviews for fast-moving industries, quarterly for more stable sectors. The key is consistency. Make horizon scanning a habit, not a one-time project. And finally, create accountability. Assign owners to each insight. Who's responsible for monitoring this trend? Who's driving the response? Without clear ownership, even the best insights die on the vine. Because the bottom line is, insights without action are just trivia. Action without insights is just guesswork. Put them together, and you've got strategic foresight. So my challenge to you is to start scanning today. If you want the full system and templates to do this faster, I've linked my horizon scanning course down below. But scanning the horizon is only the beginning. Once you've spotted the signals, you need to understand what they actually mean. And that's where scenarios come in. If you want to learn how to explore multiple futures and turn uncertainty into strategic advantage, check out this video right here. It's the perfect next step.